Hey, we're back on GZ Truth News with David Baumblatt. Thank you very much. So let's continue the story. You were talking about how in the Chicago O'Hare they made you, surveillance, make you take off your shoes, your socks, everything. They took a picture of all your notepads, notebooks, all this stuff. You say, "Don't talk to the police," and what's next? What happens?
Yeah. So at that point in time, I knew without a doubt I'm under surveillance. I mean, I'm under investigation by the FBI. So I made an appointment at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. Many people may or may not be aware of, we have FBI agents stationed abroad. Their positions are called legal attaches or FBI agents abroad. I made an appointment with them. So again, I've flown all the way back to Taiwan. I've left America. This is all recorded. Again, congressmen and senators, they have everything here. I met the two gentlemen, the two legal attaches. One of the guys I knew from before, one of the guys I've never met before. It was a professional meeting. There's no doubt about it. And the point was, I told them, one, gentlemen, I know that I'm under investigation by the FBI. They had said they're not aware of anything. No big deal. I'm not going to, maybe they know, maybe they don't know. I didn't care. I said, listen, I want you to send a cable back to FBI headquarters because they know FBI headquarters. Tell them, one, I know I'm under investigation by the FBI. Two, stop immediately. Three, face me man to man and level the allegations like a real man. They said, okay, this is all recorded. We have this, the emails, everything. Senate came back. And what did the FBI headquarters say? Nothing. Didn't confirm, didn't deny, didn't say, hey, David, thanks for your service as a former FBI agent. They don't care. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. So they said nothing. This is how powerful. I need to go back. When I left in 2007, I wrote a letter to Senator Chuck Grassley. So I had just left. I was at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. I remember I was in the library. It was about a month after I left the FBI. I'm writing up this letter in the library, sent it to him. I think it was about 10 pages. Half of it was about the unconstitutional spying. Remember the enhanced interrogation? That was torture. All the stuff that I thought was just wrong. The other half, I ripped FBI management. You don't realize how horrible these people are. Not just immorality, also incompetence. I mean, you would just be amazed on how horrible the management is. And I ripped them. Senator Chuck Grassley never responded to me. He's a shitbag. I don't like Chuck at all. Most of these Republicans suck. What he did, because I remember writing it wasn't like I got a lawyer. So I never made anything that says, I want confidentiality. Don't send this to anyone else. It was written to Chuck Grassley and I mailed it to him. But I never said anything like this is just between me and you. What did he do? Again, they don't care. If I would have said, Chuck, the FBI spying on you, he would have cared. If I said, Chuck, this is also the difference between me and the other FBI, the other whistleblowers. When I was in the FBI, I did not witness any type of FBI spying or targeting on Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives. They're doing that now. So the point is, if I said, Chuck, the FBI spying on your mafia party called the Republicans, he would have responded. But for instance, they were spying on people like American citizens who were Muslims. They weren't doing any illegal activities. Oh, you're getting spied upon. So Chuck didn't care about me. He took that letter, gave it to a staffer. Staffer gave it to the FBI, and this FBI is vindictive. Why? Very, very few times you'll see an FBI agent like me who quit the FBI. It has like a 99% retention rate. It's rare. If you do, I like to see these. It's rare. It is. Why? Because it's a good gig. These guys, as a field agent, you'll automatically get 130,000 US dollars. Automatically, non-supervisory. The FBI management, they're making between 150,000 over $200,000. Government salaries, government vehicles, government pensions. It is a nice gig. Trust me, I was in the military. The military can be rough. Not the FBI. It's a nice gig. Nobody quits. So they're very vindictive. I didn't go public in 2007 for three reasons. One, nobody wants to hear a complainer. Even now that I've gone public, people come back to me. I'm telling you, some of these American citizens are shitbags. I mean, they don't even look at me. Oh, you're a grifter. You're looking for money. I mean, nobody, as much as Americans, they love to hear the truth. They're like, we want to hear the truth. When someone says, I've got something to tell you, it's amazing. We don't really give respect for people. So I didn't want to be a complainer, a disgruntled government employee, because I'm seeing it now. That's number one. Two, I don't think anyone would believe me. I just don't think anyone would believe me. I think people would have believed the FBI. And three, you don't mess with the FBI. It's a very vindictive agency. People don't realize how powerful it is. So what does that relate to my situation? At that point in time, I was overseas, well, I still am, and I thought to myself, there's nothing you can do against this FBI. And you know what I said? I will never go back to America for the rest of my life, and it is what it is, and I'm still going to be quiet. That was the point, but it got worse. Go to episode 3 of me working for the Amazon company, another corrupt company. Watch episode 3 of me in China. It got so horrible in China with the COVID virus. I could explain the COVID virus in China. Amazon basically gave me an ultimatum. They said you could quit Amazon and leave China, or you stay in China. It was so bad, I quit Amazon and left. Make a long story short, I moved to a Western-friendly country, not China. And it's key when I say Western-friendly, because it has to be a Western. And there's a reason I'm not telling you the country now. There's a reason. I will. It was a Western-friendly country because that's a country that the FBI has diplomatic relations with. If I was in Russia or China, the FBI they couldn't do anything. I went to this country because I realized, because I said, I'm never going to go back to America. I left America in 2010. I picked this country. I said, I'm going to become a permanent resident. I'm going to make my home. I had my job secured, and that was going to be my new home. This is what happened. You'll find out. These FBI are scumbags. The FBI knew I was living in this country. They contacted this country's foreign intelligence agency, and they said, we want to know what this guy, David Baumblatt, is doing in your country. That foreign intelligence agency didn't even know I was living there, like most. I'll explain it. It makes sense. They do an investigation on me. I wasn't doing anything illegal. If I was, I'd probably be in a jail. What did they do? Kick me out, persona non grata. Revoked my work visa. I'm never able to apply for a work visa again for the rest of my life in that country. That's when I know that this FBI will never stop. Never stop. And I said, I have to then. Then I still didn't want to go public. I wrote formal allegations. I sent it to the FBI. This is all documented. The Inspector General of the Department of Justice and every single congressman and senator. I sent it in January of 2022. I sent it again. This is an email form. It's mass. I mean, there's hundreds. It's all documented. I could supply this. Anyone wants it. January 2022. I sent it every month until the following year of March 2023. Over a year, totally ignored. Now, I've got read receipts. In fact, someone from the FBI actually responded saying, we have your allegation. Didn't respond. No one else. At that point in time, I knew I've got to go public. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I did social media. And oh, by the way, my very first video was censored on YouTube, which makes you wonder what freedoms that we have. But the point I'm making was I still wasn't going to do anything to the FBI until they went after me overseas. Now, what happened to me, just to use reverse engineering, we do this in the FBI. It's common sense 101. There are a lot of foreign nationals living in America. The FBI, we don't know all about them. There's too many of them. Picture this. All of a sudden, the French Foreign Intelligence Agency contacts the FBI. It says, listen, there's a French citizen in your country in America. We need to know what he's doing. Who's his contact? This and this and this. The FBI, we would look at this French intelligence agency and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're like, what's going on? What's up with this French citizen? We can't really tell you, but he's a person of interest. We need to know. FBI, we'd immediately do an investigation. We would investigate this French citizen in America. Investigate. And then, like me overseas, perhaps we find nothing wrong with them. Nothing. And we're stumped. We're like, what's going on? This person's not doing anything illegal. But the French intelligence agency said this is a person of interest. What would we do? Better safe than sorry. We would kick this French person out. Never tell them why. We would contact FBI. Would contact ICE and immigration. We'd say, what type of visa is he on? Oh, he's on a work visa. Revoke it. Don't tell him the reason. Just revoke it and kick him out. And all of a sudden, one day, that French citizen like me is going to get something in the mail or communications and sorry, no particular reason, but your work visa has now been canceled. You must leave the country within 30 days, and you can never reapply. course, the French citizens like me, these guys go, what the heck's going on? Sorry, we can't talk to you. And boom, that's what happened to me. That's why I'm coming forward. This FBI will never stop. They are bullies. They continue to push and push and push. And so what I want to tell to the American people is this, because there's so many things about my story, but what I would want to do is I want to focus on the bigger picture, and that is this. Why did I leave America in 2010? That's a good question. When I was in the FBI, because the FBI, you could look at it like a microcosm. I mean, when you have a corrupt FBI, it's hard to, live in a good country, America. Everything's falling apart, though. It's not just the FBI; it's the military. And I should mention this. This should be the striking kind of glance that shows our country's falling apart. When the FBI recruited, of course, I'm not saying all their names because I don't want to put their lives in danger, and talk about good friends. When the FBI spies upon you, in the criminal sector, we call it informants. In the intelligence sector, we call it assets. It's the same thing. They recruit human assets to spy on you. Now, these assets or informants aren't your enemies, aren't your strangers. They have to be people that have confidential or personal or private information on you. Your friends, your family, your boss, your coworker, your neighbor, people that are close to you. That's who the FBI recruits, and that's who the FBI pays, and they could pay a lot of money. There are people getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by the FBI every year on these programs. I mean, the FBI is paying millions upon, that's just the FBI, not these other millions upon, I mean, I think it could be close to $100 million a year in payments to all your tax money. This is how it is. So the FBI recruited these same people to me. Now, what do I think is the investigation? This is what happened. Because remember, I've done nothing illegal. If I have, then where's the evidence? I know, by the way, if I have, I'd probably be arrested. When the reason why I wasn't arrested in America is because they don't have the evidence. But guess what? They don't need it, just like you. They'll spy on you. They don't need any evidence. So to make it really simple is, when Trump ran for presidency, whatever, 2015, 2016, I remember when he went down the escalator in Trump Tower, and he's like, I'm running for president. At that time, I'm overseas in China, and I'm in these groups, Telegram, WeChat, WhatsApp, emails, with military veterans. Most of them were American. Some of them were Brits, Australian, military guys. Most of the topics we talked in this group were about girls, job, whatever. It's a guys group. When Trump ran for president, that group got lit on fire with politics. I mean, Trump became the topic. And so, by the way, I was a Trump supporter from the very get-go for so many reasons. I mean, he had it. There's some people who didn't like Trump in the beginning, and they slowly, maybe he's not a racist, whatever. No way. I could tell immediately. I'm like, this guy's got it. This is what happened. Now, remember, this group was all full of military guys. These aren't civilian. These are military guys. These are West Pointers. These are Naval Academy guys. These are Sandhurst, British guys. I couldn't believe it. The group was split 50-50. The 50% of these guys, these are military officers. They're like, Trump is a racist. Trump is a used car salesman. And I'm like, are you going to vote for Hillary? I'm going to vote for Hillary. It got on fire. I'm telling you, friendships got broken. I mean, it was unbelievable. Because if I was in a group with a bunch of civilians, maybe. But I even said, I'm like, did we graduate the same West Point? Like, the conversations got heated. Like, I even said, I would at least respect you if you said Trump is a leader, but maybe I disagree that the direction he's going, but he's a leader. These guys were just saying he's not a leader. And I'm like, did we graduate the same West Point? Like, because West Point's not about leadership. You may like Trump. You may not like Trump. You may agree or disagree with the direction he's going. But Donald Trump has got so many natural leadership traits. He's a leader. And if you don't think Trump's a leader, then I want to see who the leader is. And these guys are like, they're voting for Hillary. I don't want to go too on a tangent, but you could tell it got heated because we're supposed to be leadership experts. And I don't know. I mean, I was like, who are these people? Then when Trump won, and during these conversations, as I was getting heated, I was telling them, we're going to civil war. We're going to collapse. It's going to get violent. And I stand by my word. Right when Trump won, which is, I guess, about a year, when he started to run till he won, whatever, about a year. I started getting solicited from friends. Now, when this was happening, I wasn't quite getting it. This is how the FBI works. But slowly I started realizing I'm being spied upon. So what happens is you get people, friends, neighbors, old friends, West Point classmates, these scumbags. All of a sudden, David, how's it going? Haven't talked to you in 10 years. I'm, dude, how'd you get my number? I got it from, oh, okay. And it started out really cool conversation. And this is called entrapment. Then the conversation starts getting into Trump. It's all political. Trump, Trump, Trump. And then he's like, you really think there's going to be a civil war? Oh, yeah. What are you going to do when it's a civil war? Well, I said, I'm just going to pop some popcorn. I'm going to see this thing go down. Really? But what if people get killed in this? Fuck them. I think a lot of them should get killed. Really? Do you think? Yeah, fuck them. What would you do? Now, I think we should all agree when you're having private conversations, you let your guard down and you sometimes say stuff that's a little hyperbolic. That when you look back, you're like, yeah, that sounded pretty racist. That sounded pretty a little bit too much. But that's the fun stuff when you're having with friends, or at least you think you're having a private conversation. And so in these conversations, I probably said some stuff that could be looked upon as violence, sedition, anti-government, overthrowing the government. Again, sometimes you're in. There was never a time, though, that I said, there's one thing to say, hey, I want to kill the president versus I'm going to kill the president. I have the plan. I have the weapon. It's all planned out. Then it's like, whoa, this is detailed. We've all said some stuff in anger, whatever, we're that. And again, these I'm thinking all private conversation. I'm labeled as an anti. And again, I left America in 2010. I didn't want any of this stuff. Trust me, I just wanted to be overseas left alone. That's where the investigation came. So these are my friends who are paid money to do this, or at least they were my friends. So now what's happening in the FBI, what's happening to me is happening to Americans. Let me explain this. I went into the FBI in 2004. I think we all remember the war on terror. How did we go? And I knew this because the FBI, there's two different FBIs. There's prior 9/11 and post 9/11. I was post 9/11. Prior 9/11, the FBI was primarily a law enforcement agency first and an intelligence agency second. Post 9/11, because I was part of that, they told us we are going to transform. So when I hear these whistleblowers now speaking, because they joined much later than I did like 2015 later. When I joined in 2004, they had said we are going to transform. We are going to become a primary intelligence agency. So to the American people, how did we go when I was in the FBI? Radical Islamic terrorism, Allah Akbar, kill Americans, fly planes at the buildings. Now, whether you agree with 9/11 being real or not real, fake or inside, I'm not going to argue with it. It's another conversation. But I'm just saying, I think we all agree, kill Americans, bomb Americans. That's a terrorist. And all of a sudden, now we've gotten white supremacist, you're a terrorist. J6er, you're a terrorist. Now it's gotten very political. We've changed. And I saw it, and I knew this was going to happen because what was happening is this intelligence monster that's growing and growing. The key, what I'm saying in my case and everyone's case is, what illegal activities have you done? And I'm telling you, too, even as simple as the freedom of speech, we don't even know freedom of speech anymore, meaning what we could say now, we're not quite sure if it's illegal or illegal compared to 20 or 30 years ago. We're losing that. But I'm telling you, this FBI now is coming for you. And who's you? If you are a patriotic, if you're conservative, if you have these, remember when I was in the FBI, they were looking at Muslims. Now they're looking at Christians. It's changing, and it's changing drastically. There's no evidence on me, and there's no evidence on you. Here's the problem with the FBI. There's basically, and that's why the FBI is the most powerful agency. It's law enforcement intelligence combined. There's a criminal branch and a national security branch. I was in the national security branch. This is how dangerous it is. I'm the FBI. You're a U.S. citizen. I believe you're a bank robber or a drug dealer. That's the criminal branch. Or I believe you're a terrorist or a spy. That's the national security branch. In the criminal branch, it's more transparent. I'm not saying it's not corrupt, but it is more transparent. And when you need a warrant, a search warrant, and you present it to the judge, you go through what's called the Fourth Amendment. And you need probable cause, something. You're a bank robber. Where's the bank? Where's the robbery? Where's the money? I mean, this is all common sense. There has to be a crime. It's not only more transparent, but like I said, it's more black and white. That's the criminal. Welcome to national security. National security, we have something called the FISA courts. These are secret courts. Most politicians, they won't even have access to this. Nobody's has access to this. It's basically the FBI and these secret courts. Now, the FBI says, I think this U.S. citizen is a terrorist or a spy, which is a much higher level of, of jail time and severity than a bank robber or a drug dealer. These are serious. I mean, you're a spy, you're a terrorist. These are some heavy allegations. You're going to go to prison for a long time. Now the judge asks the FBI agent, where's the evidence? Or what is a terrorist? What is a spy? Welcome to the world of nebulous. It changes. Now the FBI says, you know something? January 6th, which I do agree, there probably were some criminal acts, even something like trespassing, whatever, slap on the wrist. Now the FBI says, this middle-aged, conservative Trump voter who was part of the January 6th that illegally trespassed into the Capitol, that person is a terrorist. And you might say, how the fuck did he come up with that? Welcome to the FBI. They can. Want to know why? In the FISA, no one's going to audit. Who audits the auditor? The FBI. No one. And so that's the problem. So me, if this was the America 20 years ago, there's no way someone would look at me like a terrorist. Now, if you think this justice system is wrong, I say again, watch episode 2 of me and the Boeing Company. I sued the Boeing Company in China, Chinese court. I never believed it. I won in China. I sued Boeing in America. My life was destroyed. I have no faith in the justice system. Watch episode 2 with Boeing. So now we have FBI agents that are just different. That's a part of the reason I left. These are weird people. They're not like the old school. I actually got along much better with the older FBI agents. Like a lot of these guys, Vietnam vets, got along great. These new FBI's are different. Now you've got, we'll just say, a liberal FBI agent. You have a liberal prosecutor. You have a liberal judge. You're done. You're done. This justice system, if you think this Constitution is black and white, subjective, just like our Supreme Court, the FBI has changed. And I'm telling you, sooner or later, they're coming after you. And the principle that I made, and I told this to Senator Chuck Grassley, and I say it again, it's very simple. The FBI should not be spying on any U.S. citizen unless they go through the Fourth Amendment, which means they have to have evidence. Evidence not of suspicious activity, evidence of illegal activity. Now, in the criminal branch, they do it. In the national security, thanks to FISA, which I think should be abolished when it comes to U.S. citizen. And guess who voted to keep the FISA going? Oh, the Republicans. I think it was about a couple months ago, the FISA 702. Trust me, tons of Republicans. That's you. So you're a U.S. citizen. You've never done any illegal activity. And guess what? You're being spied upon. And I'm going to tell you the damages that are going to happen. Let's use common sense. The FBI goes to your neighbor. The FBI goes to your boss. The FBI goes to, your colleagues, and they ask about you. Now, of course, they're not going to tell them the exact reason because it's all classified. But if I'm your boss and the FBI knocks on my door and says, listen, we need to talk about one of your employees' gym, that might be the first time I ever see an FBI agent. I'd be like, what? Am I underrated? What's going on? No, you're fine. We need to talk to you about your employee gym. Is he underrated? What's going on? No. The point is by the time this conversation is done, and then you're going to be looking at Jim differently. And you're going to be thinking, I was about to promote Jim. And then you're asking the FBI, is he safe? Is he we just want to keep an eye on him. I'm telling you, even me as a boss, I'd say, Jim, you're fired. Why? No reason. Just get the hell out of my place. Your next door neighbor. You two were good friends. Barbecue together, going to a bowling alley together. but it could be worse. Phase one, the FBI goes to him and says, we want information about you. Of course, the FBI pays him money. They'll pay him $10,000 on the spot. We just want you to talk about neighbor. Neighbor, oh yeah, I've known him for 5 years. He's a good guy. We go bowling on Sundays. We have a beer. I don't know anything. And now the neighbor's thinking, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. Oh, we're not done yet. Then the FBI says, listen, could you do us some favors? We'll pay you a lot of money. Could you, go over to his house a little bit, snoop around in there, ask him some questions. But he's my good friend. How much money you want? Because they don't care. It's taxpayer money. And they start. So then your neighbor was thinking first, I'm going to stay the hell away from you because I don't know. But now the FBI wants me to be a paid informant. Now I can make a lot of money. And the FBI are the good guys. It's always good. These FBI are all good guys. Now your next door neighbor is spying on you. So, ladies and gentlemen, the most ruthless intelligence agency to ever walk the planet is the East German Stasi. And that is why it collapsed. Because East Germany, they wanted to destroy the family and destroy God. They wanted total allegiance from their people to the government. They wanted to hear all, see all, and know all. They wanted sons to spy on their fathers, daughters to spy on their mothers, and friends upon friends. And what does it do to society? Paranoia. It collapses. We cannot live like this. I've lost so many friendships from this. These West Point scumbags who got money from the FBI to spy on me, this is West Point. Duty, honor, country. When you cannot even count on West Point grads to be honorable, what country do we have? I'm telling you, we are going down a dangerous road. I predicted this in 2010. What I never predicted was for me to still be in it. I thought I'd be overseas, eating my popcorn, seeing America crumble, because I'm telling you, get ready, because we are going to hit very, very dangerous times. So, Sean, I talked a lot, and I'd be happy to, go into different parts. I'm not quite sure how much time we have or whatnot, but that's a big thing to think about. And obviously there's a bigger picture in terms of, our government, the FBI, and, I could keep talking, but I just want to get a little feel from you in terms of, where do you want to go or how much time do we have?
Thank you very much, David. I mean, what can I say? The thing is, I would love to, I, I hate all this fear porn. It's too bad that everything that you're saying, I'm sure is 100% correct. And it's a shame that all this is happening. And anybody who hasn't been living under a rock knows that it's been happening. Maybe not all the details that you've expressed, but at least they know something's weird is going on between all the, all the corruption that's going on with the whole country and, everywhere. And so, just solutions. I want to say solutions,
Sure,
and
sure.
without the fear porn, and without the
Exactly.
God bless everybody. And what can we do? Everybody's just trying to do the best they can. I hope there's no civil war. I hope none of that bad
Yep.
stuff happens. But you have to be realistic, and you have to realize that what's happening. I don't know. They're trying to
Sure.
force it. Hopefully, people are smart enough to avoid it.
Let me first give the real hard solution. Again, the biggest accomplishment of my life is graduating West Point, even though now I've said West Point is falling, but West Point's known for leadership. That's what it's known for. It's the premier leadership institute of the world. That is the litmus of the US military, the leadership. So sometimes leadership, you have to swallow the hard medicine. So let me give you hard medicine first, and then let's go for soft medicine. First, the hard medicine. There is a unbelievable, it is such an austere statue at West Point. It's in front of the mess hall. It's a statue of George Washington. Every cadet at West Point probably walks by this statue every day to class, to the mess hall. He's on horseback. So this is General George Washington, our first president, President George Washington. And I want everyone to know, if you say America is a great country, the best country on earth, you've heard this before. You've got to swallow the hard medicine. America was founded on revolution. And that man, George Washington, if our founding fathers lost the war, they would have been hung as traitors. Make no doubt about it. America was formed with illegal activity and violent activity. I want to say that because Americans, we're talking a little bit, retarded sometimes. That's no violent, no violent. We're a violent nation. America's foreign policy, if you support the war in Ukraine, if you support the war in Israel, if you support the future war in Taiwan, if you're supporting violence. I mean, America, our foreign policy is based upon violence. Our military is all about killing and destroying. Also, America would not have been formed with violence. And also, America, we're a very violent country, in many ways, the FBI, everything like that. So when I hear people say, I don't want any violence, when you, like me, you live overseas, you realize America's reputation in the world, we're a violent nation. That's how, when we look at other nations, how to solve their problems, we think, we got a great idea. It's called the military. We love to use our military to solve other people's problems in the world. And so it's all violent. So I'm going to give the soft medicine of a non-violent way, but I'm just saying we have violence in our history. We have violence in our foreign policy. We have violence internally. And sadly, I do think it's going to come to violence. It just is. Let's talk about some non-violent ways. Even though this relates again to the Revolutionary War, remember, no taxation without representation. So I would say this, if you're not satisfied with the government, one of the ways is try your best. I'm overseas, it's easier, but I mean, I wouldn't be paying taxes. The problem is that's illegal. And if you do illegal, then our government is going to knock on your door with guns. So, but it is a non-violent way to protest, but violence will be coming for you. What I would say is this, and we have to look leadership, that sometimes something bad, even though it's bad, sometimes something good will come out of it. So sometimes, it's like the phoenix rising from the fire. So maybe America is going to have to go through bad times to get better. But what I'm starting to see is people is that is when these chaos comes, in some ways it splits people. Like, think of a war, right? World War II, wars split people. Are we still okay? The wars split people, but wars also bring people together. And you're seeing that in America. You're seeing some people split, like, for instance, politics. When I grew up in America, nobody really cared if you were Democrat or Republican. I don't remember it. It was like, who cares? Now it's different. It's different to the point, I don't even know if we're going to get through the next election. So there's bad and there's good. There's bad, there's conflict. There's good because sometimes you're maybe making friends with people you never thought because of survival. For instance, I'm going to give you like the divorce rates. Everyone's getting divorced. Technically, if I'm wrong, correct me. The lowest divorce rate in the history of America, the Great Depression. Why? You needed each other. You needed each other. Lowest divorce. So what I'm saying is, as this chaos is coming, like a civil war, you may be seeing sort of two sides, but at the same time where you see things are splitting, you are seeing people come together. And that would be my advice. And this gets to basically very tactical advice, and you've seen it already, people moving to the red states. You've heard these terms, white flight, Christian flight, conservative flight, whatever you want to call it, but people are moving. I mean, I left America, but I would say you probably want to start surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And it's happening for many reasons, for safety reasons or what, and people are leaving certain states, certain cities. So the good part is you're probably going to be making stronger bonds with groups of people that you never did before. Like before, and it's like that in the military. A wartime military, when the soldiers go to battle, church attendance goes up. When the war's over and they come back in garrison, it's peace, church attendance go down because the soldiers, they just want to drink and party. But I have no doubt, as the tensions come up, you're going to start seeing stuff that you probably never did before. Maybe join a church, maybe join these groups, come together, and that's what's going to happen. And where these groups form, it's just going to happen naturally. It's already happening. But I would say is safety is in numbers. Form these groups. Some of these groups don't have to be like particularly like militia groups, even though they are. Some of them could be church, but it is going to all be around similar ideologies because our country's splitting. But I would say, obviously, I left the entire country. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, plan for the worst and obviously hope for the best. But if you're not at least having a plan of this could get bad, really bad, and violent, like a civil war, then I would say you're actually being ignorant on your planning. And at least one of the plan has got to be, okay, if this country really, really gets bad, what are we going to do? And in the meantime, though, if you're surrounded maybe in a state of like-minded people, maybe politically we could work this out in some way, shape, or form. But I think it's going to get bad.
Well, I appreciate your realism. I'd like to keep it optimistic and hope that people wake up and realize not to fall for the divide and conquer tactics, because clearly none of this is by accident. They don't try. They don't. I don't believe that this all just happened.
Yep. So,
Just the.
yep. So to the people, this was my experience in China, and this really helps you out. We all remember the famous movie, The Wizard of Oz, and we remember Dorothy. And remember when Dorothy met the wizard, and this wizard was smoke and mirrors, but then she walked behind the curtain and she saw some old guy pulling the strings. That's the real Wizard of Oz. That's a little like me in China. And the point is we keep saying China's the enemy, Russia's the enemy. But when I'm in China, what did I see over and over? These American globalist corporations, they love China, love it. So what's my point? My point is it's counterintelligence 101. If you don't know who your enemy is, you can't win a war, right? I mean, the first thing is identify. I would truly think the number one enemies you're going to find are these American globalist corporations and the American globalist government. Here's my point. Our forefathers, who were remarkable people, this is during the Revolutionary War, at that time, the most tyrannical element in their mind, you could say, is the government, the King of England. And they were afraid of this King of England. And they said, we're going to create this new government, checks and balances, legislative, executive, judicial, and they were ahead of their time. Geniuses. Because back then they were worried about this King of England. But at that time, they couldn't predict that there is something more powerful than the government itself. And that's these banks and corporations. I don't think they could predict it. So in ways, it doesn't matter who your government is. They're all puppets. People think the CIA is running, or the CIA and the FBI are nothing but goon squads. They're the henchmen. Our government works for these corporations and these banks. I'm just going to give you one example. Let's look at BlackRock. Now, in the world, there's about $40 trillion floating around. BlackRock controls about 10 trillion. That's just one. I think there's other like Fidelity, Vanguard, other. Yeah. But we all heard this phrase, absolute power corrupts absolutely. This money system, and I'm a capitalist. I'm a proud this is not capitalism anymore. This is corporate capitalism. Exactly. We are past capitalism now. When you have so much money concentrated in such a few, I would be corrupt. It's just human nature. It's just too much. And so that's what I'm saying. I don't see how this system is going to be fixed politically through voting. Because when you have these entities that have so much money, that's like I'm saying, when people think China's it's a joke. Go back to 1975. China was nothing but an agrarian country. Who built China? We did. Not us, our banks, our corporations. We built it up. Why? Because they wanted money. So you've got this animal that our American forefathers never quite predicted. Again, these banks, these corporations, they're our masters. They are our masters. I'm going to give you an example. After the FBI, I went to the Harvard Kennedy School. Now, all the politicians in America, federal, state, city, Democrats and Republicans, the number one alumni is the Harvard Kennedy School. So the Harvard Kennedy School knows a lot about politics. So most of our politics come through there. I took a
David,
class.
it looks like we got 1 minute left. We'll have to do more shows, more interviews. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate everything you got. Let's be optimistic. Let's win. Let's hubris